This is the story of a toddler who has been publicly diagnosed, debated, and labeled by the very people who are supposed to protect him from all of that. Chrisean Jr., the son of rapper Chrisean Rock and rapper Blueface, became the center of one of the most uncomfortable public conversations in celebrity culture the moment his father walked out of Lancaster State Prison in November of 2025. And what came next was messy, painful, and a lot more complicated than any headline made it sound. We're covering everything, from the moment Blueface hit Instagram as a free man, to the comments his own mother made about her grandson that the internet cannot let go of, to what Blueface actually said on camera about his son's development, to why the entire situation keeps getting worse instead of better. If you are already deep in this story and you want to see all of it broken down properly, hit that like button right now so this video reaches everyone who needs to see it. Let's get into it.
Before getting into what happened, let's lock in who the key players are, because this situation has a lot of people involved and keeping them straight matters. Blueface, born Jonathan Jamal Porter, is a Los Angeles rapper best known for his 2018 hit, Thotiana. His relationship with Chrisean Rock was on and off for years, widely documented across social media and reality television, and rarely, if ever, quiet. Together, they had a son, Chrisean Jr., referred to throughout this video as CJ, and for a substantial portion of CJ's early life, his father was physically absent. Why? Because Blueface was locked up. After a 2021 assault case, he ended up violating his probation and turned himself in to authorities in January of 2024. A judge then sentenced him to 4 years in prison in August of 2024. He served 21 months of that sentence at Lancaster State Prison in California before being released in November of 2025. That is 21 months of CJ's life. Gone. Not coming back. On the other side of this story sits Chrisean Rock, the mother, the primary caregiver, the person who is raising CJ during all of that time. She is a rapper and reality television personality who has been under a microscope for years, and the scrutiny of her parenting became its own full-time entertainment topic while Blueface was behind bars. Then there is Carlissa Saffold Harvey, 53 years old, 405,000 Instagram followers, and a willingness to use every single one of those followers as an audience for her family's most personal moments. Carlissa is Blueface's mother and CJ's paternal grandmother, and her comments about her grandson are a major reason this video exists. Rounding out the cast is Jaden Alexis, Blueface's other baby mother and the mother of his children Javon and Journey. When Blueface got out of prison and tried to have a reunified family moment, Chrisean Rock's presence around Jaden's children immediately lit a fuse. That is your cast. Now let's talk about what actually happened. Around November 2nd of 2025, Blueface confirmed his release from prison on Instagram, and within hours, the internet was watching every single move he made. Those first 72 hours carried something genuinely emotional, at least on the surface. He reunited with all of his children, including CJ, and captured a moment that resonated even with people who were not fans of either parent. Standing over his son's playpen, watching CJ pull himself upright, Blueface said out loud, "You standing up all by yourself now." That is a man processing 21 months of missed firsts, missed milestones, missed ordinary moments. Whatever you think of Blueface as a person, that moment was real. Chrisean Rock seemed to be in a mature headspace during those first few days, too. She posted publicly, "He's there for his son. That's an answered prayer. Obviously, we are just co-parenting. It's been 2 years. That's my BD and best friend." She framed the whole thing around the child, called it co-parenting, acknowledged the time gap, and seemed to genuinely want people to leave the negativity alone. For about 5 minutes, the internet cautiously exhaled. And then, Carlissa started posting. Within those same first days of Blueface being free, his mother was already publicly calling Chrisean Rock evil for allegedly disrupting his first day of freedom. She posted a grandparent DNA test kit after reportedly receiving a sample from CJ, a move that raised a very obvious question. Who does posting a DNA test kit on Instagram actually help? What does that accomplish for the child at the center of it? The family arcade outing happened around the same time. Blueface gathered all of his kids in one place, and Jaden Alexis reportedly cut the stream short after expressing she did not approve of Chrisean Rock being around her children. The unified front that had lasted roughly 72 hours was already disintegrating. Here is where the story gets heavier and where this video is going to be careful, because this part directly involves a child and how people talk about him. The public commentary on Chrisean Jr.'s development did not begin when Blueface got out of prison. Back in February of 2024, Carlissa started publicly suggesting CJ might have a disability, pointing at Chrisean's alleged smoking and drinking during pregnancy. By March of 2024, she escalated, stating publicly that she believed CJ had a neurological disorder. Let's be very clear about one thing right here, and this matters. No confirmed medical diagnosis for Chrisean Jr. has ever been made public. What is out there is internet speculation, fans throwing around terms like fetal alcohol syndrome, cerebral palsy, epilepsy. None of that comes from a doctor. None of that is verified. The one confirmed medical fact about CJ is that he had a hernia, that it was surgically corrected, and that the surgery resolved the issue. Blueface himself confirmed this detail on camera. So when people say they called him slow, yes, that happened. It came from his own family members speculating publicly without a single medical document to back it up. Not from a pediatrician, not from a specialist, from Instagram. And that distinction matters a great deal, not just for accuracy, but because this is a real child who will be able to Google himself one day.
The specific things Carlissa said deserve to be quoted accurately rather than paraphrased into something more dramatic, because the actual words are already plenty to discuss. In February of 2025, Carlissa posted a statement that ran across every blog and social media platform within hours. Her words, "I love all my kids, whether they slow, need a helmet, whether they got nappy hair, whether they short, funny looking. I love all my grandkids." She framed it as unconditional love. She loves her grandchildren regardless of anything. But the architecture of that sentence matters. Inserting the word slow into a public post during a period when she had already been publicly speculating about her grandson's development in front of 405,000 followers, that is not a private family conversation. That is a broadcast to hundreds of thousands of people, and the internet treated it accordingly. Carlissa also spoke about what she described as her personal reaction to seeing CJ. Her words were, "It crushed my heart to look at my grandbaby and see that, and that was my first time seeing it." Pain and concern in the framing. But there is a meaningful gap between feeling concern privately and turning that concern into public content, and Carlissa made a choice about which side of that gap to sit on.
Chrisean Rock's response to all of it was not subtle. She told Carissa directly, "Keep talking about my son, bro. That's all I gotta say." She also pushed back on the premise that Carissa had any real closeness with CJ to begin with, telling her, "You wasn't that motherfucking close. You didn't even get to hold him." Whether that claim about the level of closeness is accurate is something only the people inside that family know. But the message Chrisean was sending was unmistakable. You do not have standing to make public assessments of my son's development. Real quick, if you are watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button right now, because the algorithm is sitting there watching you, and if you don't subscribe, it's going to start giving you mukbang videos for the next 6 months. You don't want that. Subscribe. Thank you. On November 28, 2025, just 26 days after walking out of Lancaster State Prison, Blueface sat down with DJ Vlad for a Vlad TV interview and addressed his son's development directly. This is one of the most significant moments in the whole story because it is the father, on camera, speaking about his own child for millions of people to hear. Blueface's position was direct. There is no disability. The only disability is her. Her meaning Chrisean Rock. He acknowledged that CJ does not talk yet, but his explanation framed the delays entirely around parenting quality rather than any medical condition. His argument was that a child left in a stroller all day with minimal engagement is going to fall behind regardless of any other factor, and that Chrisean's parenting was responsible for whatever gaps existed. He confirmed the hernia, its surgical correction, and described how it had temporarily affected CJ's mobility before being resolved. And then Blueface said something that landed uncomfortably. He confirmed in that same interview that he had previously asked Chrisean Rock to abort the pregnancy because he did not believe she was ready to be a mother. That is a significant admission to make in a public interview, particularly because it sits right next to his current positioning as a concerned, invested father. People grow, people change, and his feelings about his son now may be completely genuine. But putting both things in the same public record, I asked her not to have him, and also she is ruining him, creates a tension that the audience was right to notice. 3 days before that Vlad TV interview, something else happened that generated more reaction than almost anything else in this story. On November 25, 2025, Chrisean Rock appeared on the One Night with Steiny podcast and said this, "Honest to God, that's why sometimes I wish I never had my kid because of the evil stuff. So much evil, and it's close to my kid. It's in his daddy. It's in his grandma." She continued, "The evil is in the people who are looking for clout." She also added, "When my son gets older and sees this shit, the only parent he goes see defending him is his mama." Now, the first sentence, "I sometimes wish I never had my kid," taken out of context, sounds like a mother expressing regret over her child's existence. Clips of that sentence spread fast, and many people stopped right there. But the full context changes the meaning significantly. She was describing the circumstances around CJ, the toxicity, the public exploitation of him, the fact that his own family members were discussing his potential developmental delays on social media with hundreds of thousands of strangers watching. She was saying she wished she had not brought her child into that environment, not that she regrets him.
Both interpretations circulated simultaneously. Blueface and Chrisean's camp used the quote as further evidence of unfit motherhood. Her supporters argued she was being more honest than most mothers are allowed to be about how painful it is to watch your child become content. The truth is that both readings can exist at the same time, and that tension is exactly what makes this particular moment the most complicated one in the whole timeline. On November 8, 2025, just 6 days after Blueface's release, Chrisean claimed she took the family conflict to a law enforcement level. After Chrisean Rock went on a live and reportedly said, in Chrisean's characterization, that Blueface needed to go back to jail, Chrisean's alleged words being, "He need to go back and stay in jail," Chrisean announced publicly that she had called the authorities on Chrisean Rock for what she described as a threat against Blueface's freedom. Whether that live rant constituted an actual threat or whether it was a frustrated woman venting on social media is a matter of interpretation. What is not a matter of interpretation is what Chrisean chose to do with it. She did not make a phone call and keep it quiet. She announced it to her audience. This is a pattern that shows up repeatedly throughout this story. Every grievance becomes a post. Every conflict becomes content. Privately handling things is not the choice that gets made, and sitting inside every single one of these public decisions is a toddler who had no vote.
If you have gotten this far and you still haven't liked this video, I just want you to know that the like button has feelings. It's been sitting there the whole time. Hit it. It costs nothing and it makes the algorithm very happy, and we all want the algorithm to be happy. December 2025 moved this story from social media drama into something with real physical stakes. Chrisean Rock was jumped by 2 women in Compton. She posted videos afterward claiming she came out of it unscathed and described the confrontation as 6 against 1. The altercation reportedly stemmed from her being confrontational about gang affiliation in an area with serious gang culture. Blueface's public response carried zero sympathy. His words, Don't play with LA gang culture, you will get slapped in yo ish for some ish you don't know about. Not, are you okay? Not a private message, a public statement distancing himself from the situation and implicitly placing the blame on her.
Carlissa used the incident to claim she had tried to alert Blueface so he could retrieve CJ from what she described as a dangerous environment. She positioned herself, in other words, as the responsible party advocating for the child's safety. What happened next was decisive. Chrisean Rock blocked Carlissa from seeing Chrisean Jr. for the holiday season. Completely. No visits, no access. Done. Carlissa's public response to being cut off from her grandson carried a statement that drew significant backlash. "Don't call me. I'm not calling to tell my son get no baby, no 911. Leave us the fuck alone." The same woman who described her heart being crushed looking at CJ, the same woman who had been publicly advocating for his welfare for nearly 2 years, put on record that she was refusing to call emergency services for him. Whether that was said in a moment of anger or as a genuine declaration, she said it publicly, and people remembered.
When the individual incidents get lined up in order, a pattern becomes hard to ignore. From the moment Blueface walked out of Lancaster State Prison, every adult in this story had an opportunity to make different choices. Chrisean Rock could have drawn a hard line around her son's privacy. Blueface could have addressed his concerns about CJ's development through private channels and appropriate medical professionals. Carlissa could have picked up a phone instead of opening Instagram. None of them consistently made those choices. And at the center of every single public decision, the DNA test kit post, the slow comment, the Vlad TV interview, the podcast admission, the feds call, the Compton commentary, the holiday cutoff, is a child who is approximately 2 years old and has no agency in any of it. Chrisean Rock herself put it plainly, "When my son gets older and sees this shit, the only parent he goes see defending him is his mama." And while that statement comes from a genuine place of fierce maternal protection, she is also not entirely removed from the noise she is describing. She has engaged publicly too. She has responded on social media, she appeared on a podcast and made statements that spread across every platform within hours. Nobody in this story has clean hands when it comes to keeping CJ out of the content machine. Some have been more reckless than others, but the machine has been fed by all sides.
You are still here, which means you are clearly a person of culture and excellent taste. Subscribe to the channel so you can stay a person of culture and excellent taste. The button is right there. It's free. Your future self will thank you. This story gets framed a certain way in a lot of spaces. Look at this chaotic mother. And that framing deserves to be challenged a little because it misses important context. Chrisean Rock raised CJ essentially alone for 21 months while his father was locked up at Lancaster State Prison. She navigated the early years of motherhood under constant public scrutiny, with Carlissa running a parallel public commentary on her parenting from the very beginning, with speculation about CJ's development spreading across social media before CJ was even a year old. She dealt with her own separate legal issues during this same period, and she did all of this while managing her public career and image. The podcast statement, "Sometimes I wish I never had my kid," became ammunition against her almost immediately. But consider what she said directly before and after it. She was talking about the evil surrounding her child, about people using her son for clout, about how exhausting it is to see the people closest to him doing damage in public. The statement was about the circumstances, not the child.
That distinction tends to collapse faster for Black women in the public eye than for others. The full context gets stripped, the worst-sounding sentence gets clipped and circulated, and the narrative builds from there. Watching that happen in real time to a woman who by all accounts has been the consistent physical presence in her son's life is worth naming directly. None of that means she has been perfect. She has contributed to the noise. But her situation is genuinely complicated, and flattening her into a simple bad mom narrative leaves out a lot. Blueface's behavior after his release deserves the same honest assessment. 26 days after walking out of prison, he was in a Vlad TV interview publicly questioning his co-parent's fitness as a mother and confirming he had previously asked her to abort the pregnancy. That is a lot of public ground to cover in less than a month out. His argument in that interview, "There is no disability, CJ doesn't talk because of Chrisean's parenting," contains a tension that sits there whether or not he noticed it. On one hand, he is insisting there is nothing wrong with his son. On the other hand, he is saying his son is behind developmentally because of his mother's inadequate parenting. Those are not two positions that comfortably hold each other up. What that interview does not contain is any mention of medical evaluations, developmental specialists, or concrete plans to support CJ going forward. It contains an explanation and a place to point blame. Those are two very different things from a plan. And all of this was delivered from the outside of Lancaster State Prison, having been physically absent from CJ's daily life for 21 months. The credibility with which a parent can diagnose another parent's failings goes down somewhat when you were not there. This section is about us, the audience, because this story does not exist in a vacuum, and we are part of it. Every time someone tuned in to watch Carlissa speculate about CJ's disability on a live, the platform registered it as engagement and rewarded it. Every blog post, every YouTube video, every tweet thread about this family has contributed to a world where Chrisean Jr.'s potential developmental challenges became entertainment content for millions of people. That does not mean these stories should not be told. The adults in this situation are public figures who have made public choices that are legitimately open to public discussion. But the conversation about how we talk about a real child who cannot consent to being discussed, is one that deserves some space. The research on CJ is clear. No diagnosis confirmed, no medical professional on record, no verified information beyond the hernia and its surgical correction. What we have is a grandmother who called him slow on Instagram and a father who says any delays are entirely the mother's fault. And neither of those things is a medical opinion. Neither of those things should be treated like a diagnosis because they are not one. Children with developmental differences, whatever those differences may or may not be for CJ specifically, deserve dignity. And right now, the public conversation around him has not always provided that. By mid-December of 2025, the co-parenting situation had fallen apart significantly from where it stood when Blueface first got home. The brief united front, the one where Chrisean called it co-parenting and an answered prayer and said it was the most mature they had ever been with each other, lasted weeks, not months, before collapsing into the Compton incident, the public criticism, the holiday cutoff, and Carlissa's statement about not calling 911. A formal co-parenting arrangement, a custody agreement, any legal structure protecting CJ's stability, none of that has been confirmed as being in place based on the public record from this period. That might be the most alarming single fact in this entire timeline. Let's land where we started. Chrisean Jr. is approximately 2 years old. His father was incarcerated for 21 months of his life. He had a hernia that has been surgically corrected. His grandmother posted a grandparent DNA test kit to Instagram. His grandmother called him slow on the same platform in front of 405,000 followers. His father confirmed on camera that CJ does not talk yet and attributed it entirely to his mother's parenting. His mother said on a podcast that the evil surrounding her son causes her so much pain that she sometimes wishes she could undo all of it. No confirmed medical diagnosis, no co-parenting structure on record, no evidence of any quiet, private family conversations that protected this child's story from becoming content. The title of this video asks if Chrisean Jr. is in more trouble. The answer is yes, not because of any confirmed medical condition and not because of who his parents are as artists. The trouble is that the adults around him have not yet fully decided to put him above the engagement numbers.
He is going to grow up. He is going to be able to search his own name. He's going to find the DNA test kit post, the Vlad TV interview, the podcast episode, Carlissa's slow comment, all of it. And when he does, the record he deserves to find is one where the adults who loved him chose him over the content. Based on what played out in the final months of 2025, that record does not fully exist yet, and that is the real story. If this video gave you something to think about, drop a comment below. I want to know where you stand on how celebrity families handle their children's privacy in the social media era, because this goes beyond this one family and into something a lot of us are watching play out everywhere right now. Hit that like button if you learned something today, hit subscribe if you want to stay in the loop, and I will see you in the next one. And if you made it to the very end of a video this long without skipping, you are a real one. Seriously, the subscribe button is the least you can do at this point. We both know it.